That one was a little delayed. Anyway, I'm gonna make a video about something I actually made a video about, but people still ask me. So I guess an excuse to make another one. I think it's been about a year and a half since I made the last one, but how did you get into combo videos and how have you been able to tell how all these games were going to work so many years in a row, basically, without playing them? I'm not going to tell how I got into games because that's too long of a story, but for the combo video story, I got into combo videos. My very first combo video was during, and I had fiddled with making some combo videos before, but I never put them out because they weren't any good. You know, they weren't good enough, I could tell at the time. But so I got into combo videos around CVS2, and at the time of CVS2, which was CVS2 2000, almost 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago now. Wow, dude. Remember, I was playing games before I could even drive, right? Or winning those tournaments before I could even drive. So a long time ago, but so maybe around 2000 or something. And the first combo video I ever did was for CVS2, and that got me a lot of attention because at the time, um, the most famous person, or maybe it was a group of people who were making combo videos, was the Rec guys, SAI REC, maybe Psy Recording, whatever it was. It might have been a team of guys. They might have even been using tool assisted stuff to make their videos. I don't know, but whatever the case, they were making the most. They were the ones that were doing like the most crazy videos for CVS2 at the time, right? Like doing stuff that no people were doing anything like them, right? And my video got attention because basically I made a combo video and I was doing basically ghetto kind of versions of the stuff they did, which no one else had like done at that time, basically, right? So people were like, "Whoa!" So it was like Japanese people were doing their crazy shit, where they were doing shit that no one had done, and then I was kind of doing like ghetto versions of their shit, basically, right? Not to the extent, but it's still stuff that no other person had ever like was doing whatsoever, right? And it also got attention because I did the Kim Infinite in it. And I've said this before, I'm a very moral, strong person. I did not come up with the Kim Infinite. What happened was the Cyrec guys, they had actually had the idea for the Kim Infinite and they had told me and they had given me, the idea for it. And then I was like, okay. And I thought about it. I'm like, okay, this is how you could do it. It's like down, down, roundhouse, down, down, roundhouse, hold roundhouse, down, down, little punch, let go, roundhouse, hold roundhouse, right? Because you like negative edge it basic or like to do it basically, right? And I was like, okay. So I showed that it was like humanly possible to do. And I had told them a combo with it, and they had actually given me credit for it in the video. And so I think what happened is some people actually thought that I came up with the infinite, but that's not the case. I didn't come up with infinite, and I've always said it doesn't matter if it's 20 years later, people don't know who the fuck these guys are. Maybe anymore. I'm not sure as old as me, but I'm not taking credit for that. I just showed a way that you could actually do it, and I guess maybe I was the first person to do it in matches. Maybe I guess I don't know, but anyway, so I got a lot of credit for that. Or I got some attention for that, I should say. I mean, got credit for the infinite, but I didn't really find the infinite. But I showed that I could actually do it, right? I showed some other shit. Anyway, so that got me a lot of attention, and then after that, I started getting more attention for combo videos and tech-wise. And I have actually like posted tech and stuff like that before, but when I really started getting known for like tech stuff and combo video stuff was around the time of Guilty Gear. And again, it's crazy if you think about it, but I've said this before. Besides the very first concepts of like say impossible dust, which was known in the very first concepts of like jump installing, you know what I mean? Besides that, and even I've shown it in videos and when I was traveling around for all those tournaments, you know what I mean? Like I showed more advanced ways to like even store your jump installs and shit like that. But besides that, so besides like the very basic ideas of say like jump install and like impossible, there's a lot of stuff about how Guilty Gear was actually not even known how it worked until I told people actually. That sounds crazy. People didn't even know about FD jumping. People didn't know about storing properties. They didn't know how dust worked. You know what I mean? A lot of things that might see, and a lot of things that might even see simple to things that might seem like complicated, because I've done a lot of complicated shit too. Actually wasn't known until I was, I was winning all those tournaments, traveling around as a kid, and I was like helping out people, basically showing them how this shit works, basically, right? And so I started getting attention for that, and I made some. My first Kai combo video wasn't too crazy, but by the time I made that the second Guilty Gear video I made, wow, man! I mean, you could still watch that second Guilty Gear combo video I made. Or was it actually the third? Thinking about it, so I made one Kai video, which was it two Kai combo videos before this? Man, dude, I don't know my own history. I might have made two Kai combo videos, and they were both good. They're both better than things that other people are doing for sure. Better than, you know what I mean, whatever. But on the level of doing shit that was like, whoa, no one has ever done anything like this before. When I made that Guilty Gear Impossible combo video, like no one had ever done anything like that before. And the funny thing is too, you got to remember at that time. Remember, I'm not very computer savvy. I actually had to like send my videos to people like, hey, I don't have any editing stuff. Even Windows Movie Maker I couldn't do. So I had to send people videos for my stuff to do. So a lot of times these videos were not coming out to even like, 3, 6 months later after I'd already done it, dude, right? You know what I mean? So even as long as it took for that, no one had ever done anything like the shit I was doing, right? It was just completely, it was like bonkers, right? So anyway, I got a lot of attention for that. And I think that's when I really maybe became known as someone that was like doing shit that no one else has done before because not even the Japanese were doing shit like at that time, right? And yeah, I guess that Guilty Gear video was so long ago to now, right? And then I made other videos throughout the years doing stuff. I guess I was becoming known because I was winning all these tournaments, and then I was doing like combos, that kind of shit, I guess. Posting a lot of tech, blah 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 blah, to the point that people made up lies and they hated me, I guess. But anyway, then eventually, of course, I quit games as my health, just got too bad and it wasn't worth it anymore. And I still have made videos since then. I've made a lot of crazy, Marvel videos, other Guilty Gear videos since then. I made all these Dragon Ball Z videos, which again I didn't even know if I was going to get the game. Anyway, besides that, I guess I made some 3D. But yeah, I actually have found tech too in some 3D games too. Actually, posted that about that before. But besides that, how do you actually find stuff in games? Well, I know again this is going to hurt my haters' feelings, I guess, but I've said this before. I've never been. This isn't that I don't play any video games whatsoever, but you got to remember, before disability and my health got really bad, I was working a full-time job, right? And I couldn't drive um, because I got kicked out of school. I had to get a job. Couldn't drive. You know what I mean? So I wasn't actually really playing people a lot anyway. Like people don't get this. Like a lot of times when I played video games, like I know it sounds ridiculous now because even years ago people were saying they did. Like, oh, I played video games 8 hours a day, right? You know what I mean? Like people, maybe it made people butthurt that like Clayton, he says he doesn't really practice games, but he's going to tournaments and he's winning, whatever, blah blah blah. But the thing is, I've said you can play in your head, right? So that's something I would do. Like when I'd work, you know what I mean? Like maybe at work, you know what I mean? I would think about the game then, so I don't get burned out with the game once I play. And then of course, I had to have surgery on my hands, so my hands are fucked up. You know what I mean? And even like concentrating, like just being sick, you know what I mean? But so I can't physically play a lot of video games, even if I wanted to. So you got to find like different ways to practice. So you can like practice in your head, how would I do this? What I would, blah blah blah. And then when you do play by yourself, you have to teach yourself to notice the little things, I guess. You know what I mean? Um, so practice in your head so you don't get burnt out. You know what I mean? I think it's good to play a variety of different games so you can give yourself a different perspective on games. If you only play one game, you probably won't be able to look at a new game with a different perspective because you've only ever played one game before. So I think it's good to have played a variety of games so you can like potentially come at the game with a new perspective. And I think there's a balance of being creative with realistic expectations then, you know what I mean? So you know, like, oh, this character has this move. Maybe you could do something absolutely ridiculous that makes no sense, right? But if you uh, if you played enough games, you can, and you're creative, I guess, you can look at a game creatively with realistic expectations. So then when you do play the game, you can say, like me, a lot of times, you know what I mean? And this isn't that I've like never gone to training mode, 'cause of course I have, but you know what I mean? A lot of times, you know, you work out the problems in your head, you give yourself a realistic expectation of what should work and what shouldn't work, and then you go to training mode and you try it, right? I mean, but that comes from, you know, being creative while still having realistic expectations. I said before too, when you're watching videos of a new game, you don't necessarily just need to watch people that are good quotation marks at game, because I said this before, broken record, but when I first started going to tournaments, I found out very early on people said they were good at games. Generally, they weren't very good at games. People can talk a good game online, they're not good in person. Very rare to see someone who's actually good at games and can talk about games intelligently. Very rare. So even that, maybe you're even watching someone who says he's good, but man, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? But assuming the person is good, even then, a lot of times, you know, if it's a brand new game, maybe the person who is good is only doing the same thing. And when it's a brand new game, everything is potentially valuable, right? So, how did I know how everything was going to work in Dragon Ball FighterZ without playing it? Because I didn't just watch good people play. I was like, okay, these dudes, you know, eventually I'm like, okay, they're just doing the same thing. I'm not gonna fucking learn anything about this game anymore, right? So I'm like, I gotta watch quotation marks scrubs play, mashing on buttons, because then you could actually see, okay, what is the property of this move? You know what I mean? So then I'm like, oh, okay, let's see how that works. I'm like, okay, so that's why I was like, boom, right when I got the game, boom, 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 instantly. I was able to do everything. So I'm like, okay, I can see how this works. Like the cell loops, dude. Like your cell loops, I was like, right when I got the game, I was like, dude, it took me 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, I see that this works like this. Boom, I got it. 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like all this shit's like, you know what I mean? So if you only watch people who are good, which isn't necessarily bad, you know, watch a little bit of everybody. But if they're just doing the same thing, you're not going to learn anything about a game that is brand new, right? And again, a lot of times when people say they're good, they're not even fucking good, right? So I'm like, come on. You know what I mean? So watch a little bit of everyone, you know what I mean? Realistic expectations, playing a variety of games so you have an idea of what is possible generally. You know, you can pick a little like, oh, I did this in that one game. Maybe this is kind of similar. Maybe I can do something here in this game, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? I guess that's really the advice I would give, you know what I mean? Mm, you know, again, I think it's good to play in your head too, so you don't get burnt out. You know what I mean? It gets boring. If you just keep trying the same thing over and over again, you know what I mean? You might get frustrated, and I mean that can even happen when you do have a good idea. A lot of times you're like, I know this works, but you know, maybe it's just I can't get it to work, but I still believed it could work. You know, you just got to find the correct setup. You know, come back to it another day. You know, just realistic expectations while still being creative. I guess I don't know if that makes sense. Um, hmm does anyone ask any other questions about that? You know, I've already said how I got into video games, period, in the first place, but that's like too much of a longer story. But that's basically how I got into combo videos. Um, you know, um, yeah, you know, sometimes you just gotta hit some buttons, find out how some things work. You know what I mean? Give your like, okay, this is how it works. You know what I mean? Don't stifle yourself into, oh, this person only does this, so this can only ever work, right? So I guess, hmm. Not sure if I have anything else to say. You know, I feel like people got it pretty easy nowadays too, especially because, you know, games are so pre-contrived and everything like that. So I would actually say, you know, listen, I'm actually pretty proud of like the Dragon Ball FighterZ stuff I've done. I've done like a lot of, you know, pretty cool stuff in it, considering the game was supposed to have no combos before I did all this stuff, right? You know what I mean? So, you know, if even then, like, considering how pre-contrived games are to find crazy stuff, and it was pretty cool, I guess. We'll see how the new Guilty Gear game turns out. You know, actually, I would just like to have a game to play for fun. You know what I mean? I just do combo videos because I can do them. Like I said, I'd actually just like to play a video game for fun sometimes, but I just don't really like video games. So, yeah. So that's how I got into combo videos. That's my opinion or something like that. The end, I suppose.